Hey guys, welcome back to the Friday Vlog. This will be the Thanksgiving edition. Here on the Friday Vlog, of course, we discuss things like current events, headlines that are in the news, pop culture, social media, and technology, items of interest that come up during the week that I'd like to present to you guys. If this is your first time here to the channel, I'd like to welcome you guys here, along with all you returning visitors. I would encourage you guys now to click on that watermark right there in the bottom right-hand corner to subscribe. And if you're following on BitChute, then I would encourage you guys to give me a subscribe there as well. This week in gaming, we had Infinity Ward release the 1.09 patch. You guys can check out that video up here in the top right-hand corner. And if you complete that video, of course, I also did a follow-up video to the patch, which you guys can check out. And of course, any additional information pertaining to the game, I will leave down in the published section. One of the biggest topics this week, which was also a huge topic last week, particularly for us in the YouTube community, and so important to bring to you guys, is that of COPPA or COPPA. That is the Child Online Privacy Protection Act. It was actually initially created in 1998 and had been there since. However, it wasn't until recently that it became more prominent, and YouTube had kind of been hiding in the shadows of this particular act for quite some time until a group of parents complained. So essentially, and I'm just going to paraphrase here to make it simple, and that is groups of parents complained to the FTC about Google collecting private information on their children, but more specifically using that information to target them with ads, say like on YouTube. Now again, I'm just paraphrasing here to bring this kind of into perspective for you guys. It's, you know, obviously has a lot more information to it, but that's kind of the gist of it right there. And this is going to be the most impactful decision made by the federal government in the United States against a social media platform, because this is going to have a far-reaching effect on YouTube creators, specifically those who create children's content. But some of the biggest fears, of course, is that the FTC had mentioned that they have their own software that can search and browse throughout YouTube to find content that they perceive would be directed at children. And it sounds rather frightening on the surface, but at least within the FTC regulations, as we've discovered, that there is provisions for a mixed content type decision. But not only that, you know, we already know YouTube's AI is very stringent and oftentimes incredibly unfair, because of course, if we do get a hit on our videos, as I do with the Friday Vlogs, where I get limited ad, I can request a manual review, and that oftentimes gets rejected. But at least with the FTC, as far as we can tell, they will do manual reviews if there is, say, for example, a video that isn't compliant or something to that nature. They're not going to necessarily just shut you down immediately and fine you, because there's obviously going to always be this level of hysteria among the community members as to, oh my gosh, what's going on? I'm not, I'm no longer going to be able to survive as a channel and everything. And there's always going to be that initial kind of fright by everyone. But as far as we understand and as far as we're learning now, the FTC isn't going to be some extraordinarily, overt watchdog that's going to just shut down channels because it has nothing better to do. Say, for example, like the cancel culture, which I'm kind of wondering if it wasn't maybe within the boundaries of the cancel culture that actually caused this to happen. Now, that's just me speculating, of course. I have no proof to give to you guys to base that notion on, but that's just kind of my idea. We are in a cancel culture where groups of people are always trying to go after advertisers, or they're trying to go after platforms, or they're trying to do something to inject themselves into something that they don't like. But of course, I don't have any evidence to support that. I'm just simply throwing that out there to you guys. But nonetheless, I will leave information about what we have learned recently, or specifically about COPPA itself, in the published section. But I can see this having a huge impact on channels overall, because even if you make children's content that is compliant, your community tabs, your comment sections, your end cards, your end screens, all these things will be disabled, and your content will not be searchable, and of course you will not be able to run ads on your actual videos. So for child creators, this is going to be a huge impact or is going to have a huge impact on their content. But we'll continue to monitor all this activity. But nonetheless, guys, this was a gigantic thing in our community, because those of you who may be watching me may have children of your own or family members that have children, or you might even enjoy Lego reviews or other things that are more child related in aspect, although it is something that adults do enjoy. But nonetheless, this will have a huge impact on YouTube, even from just the fundamental standpoint of it all, without going into all of the draconian type of hunting people down and finding them and things of that nature. But nonetheless, guys, it is gigantic, and this is going to be probably the most impactful thing we've ever seen, say, the government do to a platform. This week, we learned that Michael Stop and Frisk Bloomberg, the former mayor of New York, has officially entered the 2020 presidential race. And he did it in a rather interesting, and for me, kind of an entertaining and amusing way, because he's basically adopting the Orange Man Bad approach by purchasing $34 million worth of ads to launch a negative campaign against President Trump, because as I mentioned, that is their strategy. The Democrats, of course, are in a schism right now. They are divided into 3 different camps. So we can anticipate, and we have already seen, that the more progressive side of the Democratic Party is none too excited about Bloomberg entering the race. As a matter of fact, Elizabeth Warren came out the other day and said that he was simply trying to buy his way into the election and or pay his way into the election, as well as pay his way into the presidency. So we can already see the attacks on Bloomberg as he is announcing. And of course, he is still adopting the approach of the Orange Man Bad. And so that's kind of what we're seeing here, as opposed to hearing from the candidates actually, going more into what they are trying to present to the American people with their platforms and their policies. However, none of them are really generating any kind of excitement. There isn't any major candidate that even the mainstream media or other prominent Democrat figures are really getting behind, because even President Obama, or former President Obama, has his former vice president in there, who during the Atlanta Democratic debate that was here in our beautiful city made an amazing gaffe yet again, where he was trying to make an attempt about how relatable he was in the black community by then pointing out 2 prominent black females that have been very successful in politics, and didn't know to recognize one of those black females as Kamala Harris, who was right there in the actual debate with him. And it was met with laughter as well as a jab from Cory Booker. So even within the Democratic Party, they are having issues with Joe the Gaff Biden. But nonetheless, we can, and of course, expect this being kind of a really not so great part of the campaign for Joe Biden, because he's supposed to be the ringleader. And so now we have Michael Bloomberg, who isn't really going to be generating really any more excitement than any of the other candidates. And of course, we have the incumbent president, who has demonstrated over and over again that he is succeeding. As a matter of fact, there was a Huffington Post article, believe it or not, the Huffing and Puffington Post actually put out an article where they had to recognize some of the accomplishments that President Trump had. Now, of course, it was saturated with relatively sarcastic and a bit hyperbolic exaggerations of numbers and stuff, but nonetheless, they did actually come out and actually write a positive kind of message about President Trump. Well, I can't say it's entirely positive, but I know they couldn't have really liked the fact that they had to cover this. But this constant negativity is creating a huge problem for the Democrats, and another huge blow. After 5 different polls, it would appear that the impeachment inquiry is losing popularity, even among moderates and even among Democrats. So Skiff is in a bind. And as we have talked here, of course, this whole Intelligence Committee hearing is really more of a in-house human resource meeting, because there isn't any like official legal trial happening here. And that's what, of course, the Democrats were banking on, was people's inability to make distinctions between the fact that this is not an actual trial, as it would be, for example, having due process and the things of that nature, being able to call witnesses and things that would be in an actual disciplinary style of trial, as it were. And so we're going to see probably the Democrats having to just fold on the whole inquiry altogether because they're probably not even going to be able to get a minority vote in it, or a simple majority, I should say. They won't be able to get a simple majority vote to even proceed with an impeachment. So, interestingly enough, with Bloomberg entering the race, I still don't see any particular excitement among the Democratic Party, but nonetheless, he has announced, and I wanted to bring that to you guys because it illustrates what's going on here, and I hope you guys have learned and are seeing how the Democrats are really in a very desperate state right now, and we will just continue to monitor this and see how it all turns out. I will publish, of course, links to his announcement down in the published section below. All right, guys, so that's going to wrap it up for this Thanksgiving coverage. If you are here in the States and are celebrating Thanksgiving, even if you're in a foreign country, I hope you guys had a wonderful time. And, of course, we have the obligatory channel icon appearing right there on the screen to subscribe. I would encourage you guys to do that along with notifications. That way you guys will know when there is content here on the channel. If you are watching this via BitChute, and a lot of things have been happening on BitChute, I would encourage you guys to give me a subscribe there as well. And I will see you guys right there behind the camera next week.